I don't believe in balance. I think when you're balanced, you're 50-50. I've said that for years and years and years. And if I'm standing on two boats in a dock and they're both moving and oscillating back and forth, and I need this one. Oh, I need this one. I need this. Who's getting the attention? Nobody. And then you're in the middle, exhausted. So choose one.
Welcome to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg.
All right, we're live in Laguna Beach at the Ben Reinberg I Own It studios today, and really excited about today's guest. She's a coach, a mentor. She is an elite mortgage broker in the residential industry, which is on the other side of the ledger of us commercial real estate folks out here. She's an entrepreneur and really a leader, and she has an incredible spirit. And she's really someone that you're going to gravitate to, who just has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience in business and life. And so, Jen Du Plessis, welcome to the I Own It show. It's so nice to see you, and very grateful to have you on a Tuesday afternoon. It's nice to get out of the office and be able to spend some time with you today.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. I'm so excited to see you again after meeting you at Prosperity Camp a couple weeks ago. So I'm ready to roll.
Okay. Well, let's go at it. So you're a coach and a mentor to many successful and ambitious entrepreneurs. And one thing I love is that you have a number of great one-liners that hit on some very deep topics. And I love a lot of them that you slang out there. I'm hoping we discuss a few of them during this podcast together. The first one I want to ask you about, which I think is a great topic, is a concept you discuss. It's called "Who Owns You? You or Your Business?" Can you elaborate on the advice you're sharing? Was there a time earlier in your career when you learned that lesson the hard way? Just kind of walk me through like what exactly that means to you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking that question. Yeah. It's funny because that actually derived from a client of mine who said, I feel like my business owns me, and then I conjured up a little bite on it. But yeah, of course that happened to me. And, I had been in the mortgage business at that time, some probably, I don't know, 20, 25 years. And I went to dinner with my family, which we've all done, right? And we're not really at dinner. Went to dinner with my family and I got a phone call, and outside I went and I walked what I call the concrete balance beam, right? The back and forth that we do on the curb. And, I happened to look into the restaurant, and there they were. My family was enjoying themselves, creating this beautiful life, creating these wonderful memories. And I was never, ever in them. And that's when it hit me. Wasn't the last time, it certainly wasn't the first time, but that time hit me. And I said, I have to do something about this. And, because my whole business was running me and I didn't have any control over it whatsoever. And so for me, that was the catalyst that said, I have it backwards. And the way I like to describe it is, if you're looking at a wheel on a car, or look at the tire and the wheel, for those that don't know the difference, right? The wheel's the center and the steel, and then the tire is the rubber. And I think what we do as entrepreneurs is we focus on building this great steel business, and then our lives are the tire that gets treaded on, has nails, falls off, goes flat, all these divorces we have, in the world. And I thought, what we need to do is reverse engineer that. What if we could build a steel for our life, our lifestyle, everything that we want in our life, and then build a 4x4 kind of tire that's ready to go over any terrain on our way to success. And that's what I did. Is I said, me first, and then the business. But I'm not going to build, a business that's just a used tire. I want to build, this deeply grooved tire that's ready for anything. So that's really where that came from. And that's really what I focus on now, is living that life of luxury, not the luxurious life. Yes, we all want that, but the life of luxury, where I have the luxury of taking off when I want, working when I want, not working when I want, choosing whatever I want.
So one of the things you touched on was not, is moving from working in and on your business to working above and beyond your business. That's something you talk about. This idea resonates with me. Being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, I own a large commercial real estate investment firm. We own property throughout the country. And it's always been a challenge of mine because when you start a business, I started my business as a 24-year-old, you started yours when you were younger as well. And it's a challenge, and it's difficult to hand over the reins and delegate, which is something I've learned over the past 30 years to delegate more and more. And the idea resonates with me, this above and beyond your business, because I
Mhm.
imagine many entrepreneurs aren't sure exactly when they're ready for this kind of pivot, just like I wasn't. What advice would you give people who aren't sure when to move above their business?
Yeah. I think some of the signs and having an increased awareness, but some of the signs are I don't have time. I don't have time to go on my boat. I don't have time to travel. I don't have time to get this done. And I'm working all of these, unbelievable long hours. And I think that we can all work long hours for a period of time. We don't have infinite energy, but time is infinite when you start building a team. Just 10 people on your team working 40 hours a week gives you 400 hours per week of productivity. Imagine what you could get done with 400 hours, or you could do it all by yourself for the next 2 or 3 years to try to get that same amount out of yourself. And so the first thing I would say is just that, we have to increase awareness of when we're saying, I don't have the energy, I don't have the time, I can't get it all done, everything's piling up. That's when we need to be letting go. We need to start allowing ourselves to work above our businesses and not be working even on our businesses. And having said that, of course, there are times when you need to work on it. You need to redirect, you need to bring on some new strategy or something. You have to work on it, but immediately jump up to above and delegate those tasks to someone else.
So it's so important to not only have a good leadership team, but people that you can rely on that could maybe even do the job that you're allocating to them even better than you. That's what I always find. Are you finding it's easy to find good talent that you could delegate that are better than you, or what do you see out there when you're hiring people?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things here. One is we should always be a talent scout. There are so many great people that pass us by when we're not looking because we're just waiting for the day where we pull a trigger and now we look. So if we can be good about having a talent scout, and when you find being a talent scout and finding these people, when you find them, you have to bring them on. You have to bring them on. But I'm always looking for a rock star. And I think it's funny. I was laughing because you had said, you know, can they do it as good as me, and are they better? But it's the law of diminishing return, right? Is that when you have one client, you can do everything A to Z and you can do it very well. But when you start having 10, 20, 30, if you can even get to that point without, killing yourself physically, right? When you get to that point, you aren't performing the way that you believe you are performing. You are actually performing in a lesser amount. So what we do is we look for perfection when we should be looking for someone who's doing it better than we are. And so that's one of the things that I would say is don't miss opportunities because you're looking for the absolute perfect person. Anyone who's doing it 1% better than you is better, than you're doing it right now. And if you're wearing these multiple hats, then your capacity is so much lower. You might be working at 30 or 40% of your normal capacity. So hire someone who works at 60 or 70% and be a good leader to them and create an empowerment relationship, not an enabling relationship, so that they can grow exponentially with you.
First of all, it's a great answer, and I agree with you because, especially in commercial real estate, in my company, I see where we have people doing things, too many things. They can't excel at the one thing they should be doing at. And so it's a great lesson of
Mm-hmm.
focus. You are rewarded in focus, especially in real estate, whether it's residential or commercial. We see that frequently. You brought up the
Yeah.
word empowerment, which I love that word. We use that word a lot. Explain what you mean and
Yeah.
give an example of what empowerment means, because I think it's so important when you can empower your team, you can empower your resources, people around you, your family. Empowerment is an important thing to inspire people. Explain your view of empowerment.
Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that question, because this is the core of what I, coach and mentor people about, is that when you're working in your business, it's all about me, right? Everything surrounds you. You're the finder, the minder, the grinder, you're everything. That's the me stage, or the first phase of business. When you start oscillating back and forth between in and on, it's when you're hiring that first person. And they are very enabled, because generally we know historically most, not all, but most entrepreneurs, they have their process and procedure in their head and they don't have it written down anywhere. So the result is that no one really understands what the process is. So they have to come to you to ask questions constantly. And we end up pointing our fingers and saying they were awful, instead of I wasn't prepared, doing some thumb pointing back the other way. But this is where you start working on your business. But that's now that you're managing the methods. You're not even empowering, and I won't use the word empower. You're not even moving your people forward, because all you're doing is managing the method, because it's this yin and yang that goes back and forth. And so they're very enabled. When you go to above and you start stepping away from your practice, and you start, and your team does three things, right? You share with them your vision, you share with them your values, the non-negotiables, the principles by which your company is ran by, which but did you write them down? Have you shared them? You know your vision, but did you write it down and share it? And then the third is your voice, right? It's really important that they all know how you talk, how you respond. Are you more with emojis? Are you more formal? Are you more silly and humorous? To use cuss words? What is your voice? Because then when you get to that stage of that above, they are empowered to make decisions, because they're very clear about what you want, and everyone's managing the message. So we go from methods to, me, methods to message, where everyone else is managing the methods or the message. And it's really interesting, because when you go to McDonald's, they say, "Can I take your order?" That's a message. That's a voice. When you go to Starbucks, they say, "What can we start for you?" That's a voice. They're empowered. They don't have to go to someone and say, "Well, let me find out if I can do this." They already know what the non-negotiable is, what we're trying to strive for, so they can make decisions. That's empowerment, and allows you then to go beyond, whether it's sitting on a beach, taking a long nap, or starting a new business. So that's my definition of empowerment.
Your podcast has a fascinating name to me. It's Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Almost everyone
Mm-hmm.
has heard of glass ceilings, right? But I'm not sure how
Right.
many have considered what their life looks like after breaking a glass ceiling. What does your podcast name mean to you? I always wanted to ask you that. And what's life
Yeah.
like for you after you break a glass ceiling?
Yeah. Well, I think, so the story goes that I was, in lending for 35 years. And I was, as soon as I uh, um, transitioned out and retired from lending and started, doing other things full time, I was out networking, and someone said, "Well, what do you do?" And I just jumped right in. "Oh, I'm a more," I don't know what I do anymore, right? Because that was my identity. So the podcast is called Success to Significance: Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. And because I had this success, and now I wanted to transform, make an impact. That's why I'm called the Impact Mentor, be significant in the world and leave a mark. And which happens to be the name of my mastermind, Make Your Mark, right? Go make your mark in the world. But it didn't seem to resonate with me at that time. I was saying that I'm missing something. And really what it was is, what is life after you've broken through all these glass ceilings? And it's not, I know it resonates a lot with women and a lot with money, but I'm not in that market. I mean, I'm a woman. I speak on women's stages, but I don't just coach women, right? I would talk to everybody. Um, and I think that, for me, it was like, what are the glass ceilings that everyone breaks through? And I had Jeff Hoffman on my podcast, the co-founder of Priceline and Booking and the inventor of the kiosks that we use in the airport. And Jeff was on there, and he's broken through different ceilings as well. And sometimes, for him, he broke through not only a financial ceiling to be a billionaire at the time he was 30, but also because he learned to break through the egotistical ceiling of, judging people. So we have people that are breaking through, losing weight or leaving a relationship or business, there's all kinds of ceilings that we go through all the time. And I just like sharing, the thought about it. What if I'm just tapping on it, the people that are in it and they're getting all caught up, and then those that have come through and said, it's possible, right? It's all possible. And I think that for me, resilience is a big word as well. I just won an award for resilience for the Golden Carpet Award. It's a heart-centric instead of a red carpet. It's a heart-centric. And that's because I think that resilience is really, really important. You can't just hope and wish that you're going to be successful and not expect to have any setbacks. So breaking through it, not tapping through it, but bursting through it is so liberating because you see so many other opportunities on the other side.
Isn't really loving yourself and all the negative, disempowering conversations we have with ourselves really disrupt and create chaos to break that glass ceiling that we're all fighting? And do you coach some of your mentees on, hey, be careful with your thoughts and what you keep saying about yourself, because that's what's holding you back. That's what's keeping you stuck. I find that a lot in my business in commercial real estate. People say, well, how did you get there, Ben? How did you create this empire? How did you do it? And a lot of it is your mind and how you control your emotions and your thoughts and your belief system. And it's a challenge for a lot of people because that's what prevents you from growth.
Yeah, being in a financial services industry for so long and then being a woman in it, when I first got in it, was never seen that a woman could, originate business, let alone fund over $1 billion in her lifetime, right? And, I think that that what I learned after I made that transformation or broke through my ceiling, onto the other side here where I'm not physically in the business as much anymore. Well, I don't even originate, but that I'm not in the business, is that I thought everything was mechanics. If I could just show everybody the facts, if I could prove, demonstrate through my numbers, demonstrate through my conversion ratios, all the stats, my knowledge, all of that, that's where the momentum would come from. But that day that I was standing outside of that restaurant, I realized that it's a mindset too, that I have to love myself as much as I'm loving all these clients. And it wasn't about the money for me. It was about proving, because I was called Jenny who ain't got a penny. And, for me, it was a proving thing. And I said, I'm done proving. I want to start living. And so now I've coined the phrase, and you like all these little phrases, right? Mindset plus methods equals momentum. You have to have both, which is why I have a mastermind retreat, because I combine the two. There's a little of mechanics, right? We want to work on our business, the methods, but then we also have the mindset where we work on breakthroughs, where people get emotional because they've had a breakthrough. And I think that, that personal development only makes you better as a human being, rather than a human doing all the time.
Well said. Well said. You differentiate between success versus significance and impact. What's the difference in how you think about these things that you discuss?
Yeah, for me, success, it used to be money, right? It used to be money. And I think it's fine if that's what it is for people. That's why I love mentoring people, because I like for them to define what success is. Sometimes success is just, I need breathing. I need to breathe. I need to be with my family. And that's success. Or, it's that financial freedom, whereas others are, I want to be the biggest, baddest, best or out there. So, defining your success. And so that's why it's hard for me to define it for others. I always sign all of my signatures, my emails and stuff, say to your success, not to the success of the neighbor who thinks that's success, but to your success. And that's what success is for me. Significance is more heartfelt. It is, making a significant, and it's still impact, but it's slightly different. But significance for me is more about the charity work that I do, the foundational work that I do, to being significant as a person rather than just being one of many, right? I want to be significant. I want people to feel something after having spent time with me, right? And that's significance to me. Impact is changing people's lives. That's what impact is for me. That, 100 years from now, someone will say, well, I remember someone told me that this person said that. And, and that's going on. And I would never know about it. I just know that it's out there and then I'm putting something out into the world. And so that for me is the unique differences between those three definitions.
So we just keep rolling through your sayings, and here's another one I really like. Are you ready? All right. Another line you have
Okay.
is believing. They just keep coming. I love them. One of my favorite lines you have is believing that entrepreneurs can live their legacy while building it. Obviously, I've been an entrepreneur for about 30 years, and this line really resonates with me. Share more about what you mean with that line.
Yeah, live your legacy while you're building it. I think so often people, live in the world of, and I'm sure there's sayings for this, but I don't have it. But when this happens, when I get the money in the bank, when that happens, when I'm more famous, when I'm whatever, then I will, right? And I feel that you can live your legacy every day, and that's why, I say living that life of luxury, right? My mom said to me one time, I said, oh, we're going here. And we had the kids. This was years ago. And we're going to this game and that game. And then we're going to go on a cruise and we're doing all these things. And she said, oh, you have such a beautiful quality of life. And I thought, oh, I don't know that I like that, because that's like keeping up with the Joneses. What I'm really seeking is a life of quality, not a quality life. So I did the same kind of twist with, a luxurious life and turned it into a life of luxury, right? The luxury of doing what I want when I want and having that control. And I realized that, if I could go on vacation every single day, I'm a dancer. So I love dancing, I do ballroom dancing and stuff. And so if I can go on vacation every single day, I'm going to live my legacy while I'm building it. I'm not going to wait and then buy the second home, wait and then go on, a tour of the world. I'm not going to wait for all these things. We can live our legacy while we're building it, but we've got to have our priorities straight in order to do that. We have to know when to say no to people and when to say yes to ourselves. And so one of the other phrases I use too is work on purpose so you can play with passion.
Oh, great.
And intentionality is everything, right? Everything is intentional. And so often we run around like we're eating soup with a fork all day long, right? And we're exhausted. We're doing activities for the sake of doing them because someone said we should, and we got this shiny object, and we're doing all those things. But at the end of the night, we're not fulfilled. We're not full. We're just exhausted. And working on purpose so you can play with passion is what I do every day. It's like, how fast can I get this done so I can go play? I can go do what I want to do and live that life of luxury.
So you believe giving yourself space to create the life you want is so important, which I believe as well. What about being present? Because what you touch on a lot is being present in the moment, building your legacy, being present, not thinking about the future, not living in the past. How important is it to you to be present with everyone you're with and everything you're doing in life?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you touched on this, because you and I haven't talked about this at all. So years ago, and I wouldn't say many, maybe 10 years ago, I had sent out an email to several of my colleagues and said, hey, if you could describe me in 3 words, what would you describe? And of course, all the things, if any of us did this, people would come back with, and I said, be honest. I think it's so funny that you have to tell people to be honest, but and I had all these nice accolades. Oh, you're great. And this, that, and the other. And one person in real estate, he owned a Remax office. He's a broker owner of a Remax office. Came back. He gave me a couple good things, but then he said, not present. I mean, that was how he described me, not present. And I thought, oh gosh, I've got to get my big girl panties on. I've got to go. Right. I've got to go ask him the question. I can't pretend I didn't see it right. And I said, well, Chip, so you said I'm not present. What's the scoop there? That really upset me, but in a good way. I want to learn. I'm a life learner. And he said, you have all these events and you have 100 people at the event. And I go, yeah, I know, it's great, isn't it? And he goes, well, it is, except that you're run around like a bumblebee to nectar. You're just a little here and a little there and a little there, and it's all superficial. And I said, well, I said, well, it's like being at a wedding. The bride wants to talk to all the guests. And he said, yeah, but he goes, if I saw you speaking to one or two people, sitting face to face and deep in a conversation, and you never said hello to me, I'd be okay with that, because it showed me that you cared about that person, that, you know what, I've got 100 people here, but this person needs me. And I changed that next year. My word was be present, be curious was my word, to remind me to ask questions to people. And now I feel absolutely present in everything that I do. Absolutely everything. And now it's second nature. I had to work on it, but now it's absolutely second nature. And I think that, again, I don't believe in balance. I think when you're balanced, you're 50-50. I've said that for years and years and years. And if I'm standing on two boats in a dock and they're both moving and oscillating back and forth, and I need this one. Oh, I need this one. I need this. Who's getting the attention? Nobody. And then you're in the middle, exhausted. So choose one, choose a boat, make a choice, and go spend time and do what you need to do, and then go see the other things. So spend time with your family and put the phone away. And when you're with your business, focus on the intentional activities that will move the needle in your business, rather than the shiny object syndrome or the laundry list of email. Right.
It's such a great point. And let me just go a little deeper on this point. When you're present and you're focused on the person you're talking to, like square shoulders, really looking them in the eye, asking questions, you build a much deeper connection. And guess what? In business and in life, those relationships naturally give back to you, because you spend that time with that focus. You build that deeper connection. You get referrals. More money gravitates to you when you do that I found. And so being present is so important, because life is all about deep-rooted connections and relationships. That's what it's about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And what you probably saw is, and I find this as well, everyone you meet and you have a conversation with, they are contributing to your life in some manner. And Chip, who gave you that advice, how grateful are you for that? Because it taught you something.
Oh, of course.
And what a lot of people don't realize, especially when you're younger, and you know this, is that when someone's criticizing you, the first thing you do is you shudder and you start getting defensive and triggered. Instead of, if you took the approach and said, you know what, this person's contributing to my life, I'm going to seek the truth of that person is saying to me and understand it, and really listen to what they're saying to me and use it to my advantage to make my life better. And I think if a lot of people would take that frame and say, this person's, they're criticizing me, putting me down, but there's a lesson here. They're contributing to me. They're pouring in a lesson that I can use, and seeking the truth. You can go so much further in life by listening to people and understanding. And it took me a long time to understand that concept, Jen, because, as a man, I would get really defensive. I would say, who are you to tell me how to run my business or how to do this and that? Instead of taking the approach when I was younger, saying, Ben, I don't know my head from my ass, and maybe I should listen because they're contributing to me. And I learned that, and that's a great point you bring up. Let's touch on the luxury thing you brought up earlier, because I wanted to ask you that. So in your coaching, you help leaders create the life of luxury, right? Which you touched on a little bit. And you said luxury doesn't mean money, okay? Which a lot of people feel it's money, it's status, it's the possessions, the assets you have. What do you want to share with people about luxury? That what people should think about when they hear the word luxury? What does it mean to you?
Yeah. Well, if you look up the word luxury, I'm really big on looking up words, right? Why significant? Why continuity versus constant, right? Or consistency. They're totally different words and different meanings. And luxury has two meanings. It is financial freedom. It is having monetary things. And we all love that, right? I love them too. I'm not saying I don't. I'm not saying I don't want money. But what was most important for me was the money meant nothing. We had a month where we closed, I think it was 82 loans, right? We made back then, whenever it was, we closed 82 loans, and I was absolutely miserable, and that was in 1 month, right? 1 month. Most loan officers close less than that in a year. So we closed 1 month having that, and I was miserable. Everyone said, "Oh my God, that's awesome. You must really love it." And I said, "But I couldn't enjoy it. I wasn't home with my kids. I missed this thing. I missed that thing. I'm barking at everybody, my at home and at work. I'm barking at everybody. I'm absolutely miserable. I couldn't connect with my clients, 82 of them in a month. How can you connect with them? And for me, I started saying, and especially as a woman, and I would say, well, she has the luxury of picking her kids up every day because she's not working like I am. Not because I'm making more money, just, well, she has the luxury of time. Yeah, they have the luxury of going on vacation. I can't. And so I had this pessimistic view of everything and said, wait a minute, I want these luxuries in my life. And I think they're a choice. It is a choice that I have to make. It's choosing myself and sometimes saying no to clients. And I may lose a client here and there, but I'll gain many, many, many more back by them seeing that I respect myself, my time, and my family just as much as I respect them. And this gets back to the present piece of it too, is that a lot of us function as if we're in demand, on demand rather than being in demand. And so when people ask, and they ask us something, we how fast can we get it to them? We didn't even ask them, when do you need it? And they would probably say, hey, don't worry, it's not important. Just if you can get it to me sometime this week. But we're so much in this on demand thing, this glorification of busyness. And then we're poor. Right? In this glorification, and we're poor in a lot of different ways. Financially, we're poor because all we're doing is running 100 miles an hour and not really doing anything that means anything. And then we're poor, we're craving relationships and connection and, attention. And we crave wanting to give attention. And how many times do we say my kids are grown now, but I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many times I said to them, shush, because I'm on the phone making money so you can have whatever. And so my mom had this quote, and it goes like this: we flatter those we scarcely know. We please the fleeting guests, but we deal many a thoughtless blow to those we love the best.
Wow.
And I decided
you're gonna have to text that one to me. That's a hell of a good saying there, for sure. I like that.
It is. We're nice to, here we are, we're sitting here on this, we're nice to each other. He, we're nice and whatever. But, we could hang up this call and my husband come in and ask a question and we could bark. You could bark at your spouse. You could bark at your people that are there with you. And like, that was awful. And this was, and that noise I heard. And we do that so often. And that's why I just said, look, the life of luxury to me is just being happy and being able to choose what I want and not being yanked and pulled by everybody else. And I don't want to be on demand. I want to be in demand. There's more fun there. There's more profit. Yeah.
It's a great point. And what you're touching on is what is happiness. And someone said this to me a while ago, and I'll share it with you, is that we're always pursuing happiness by changing our environment. But if we were happy, we would change our environment. And people don't realize if you can become happy with yourself and love yourself and create happiness within you, your environment will change. I've seen that hand over fist with myself and other people. It's like when you're happy and you're coming from a state of love and not fear, and you project that out to the universe and to others you're communicating with, guess what? Your environment changes. So people are always saying, I need my environment to change. I need this person to change. You're never going to change a person. The only one you could change is yourself. And if you could work on yourself and change yourself, I could assure you, everyone out there in the ether, your environment will change. and your relationships will change also. And it's a great point
Yeah.
because it touches on presence, like you said. It touches on what luxury really means. And luxury is really creating that self-love for yourself, is respecting yourself, is
Mhm.
honoring yourself, and not getting caught up in worrying about what other people think and worry about who you need to be. You know, when I was younger, to be a commercial real estate mogul, you had to build this house of cards when you're in your 20s in order to get to a certain place. And you're not being your authentic self, which is a lot of us that are in the business. And I've realized that being your authentic self and loving yourself is what will create happiness, and your environment around you will change. And you're right, you don't have to be a master to everyone. You just have to focus on the little things and being present with the person or the people you're interacting, which will go back to my point of
Yeah.
building those deeper connections. So you talk a lot
Yeah.
about leaders not knowing the difference between
Yeah.
customer service versus
Ugh.
customer experience. What is the difference?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I just think that, nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but I think customers, everybody does customer service. It is in a conveyor belt, right? It's a conveyor belt of what should be done in order to make somebody, not be mad. I'll say not be mad. I wouldn't say be happy, just not be angry or upset. The experience is different. It's these seemingly little thing, insignificant things that you can do in the course of your sales process or your prospecting process or your, I call them alumni clients. I don't call them past clients. And the reason why I don't do that, when I hear past clients, most people are saying PAST. I'm saying PASSED, because we have a tendency to think linear in our business, right? I got a deal, I closed some business, now they're past. So we close the casket on the relationship and they've gone away and I don't have to worry about them again, right? Those are passed away clients. So I prefer to call them alumni because I see what we do in the client experience and the client journey as being an infinity sign, right? That our goal is to serve them very well in the experience piece and then bring them back in through loyalty so that they not only come back to us again, but they also tell their friends about us, and they're compelled to because everything was so great. So in your process, in your fulfillment process of your sales, I just think any part of your process, I have 6 different processes. So for me, it's hard to contain it in one. Is what is that experience like? If, I can use the example of a carpet cleaner. You call and you make an appointment for a carpet cleaner and they say they're going to be there between 10 and 3 and you wait around and then you end up having to call them and they said they don't know what they're doing. It might be tomorrow, right? That's how most people function. But what if I made the call and I got the appointment and then I got a text that said, "We are so honored to be serving you." Right. And then 2 days later, I got something that said, "This is the person who's coming to your door. So you don't have to worry about the people coming to your door. Let me tell you a little bit about Mike, who's going to be at your home." And then they came in the house and they had footies on and they all wore the same thing and they laid out stuff on your floor and put things on the walls on the corners, so as they're pulling the hoses nothing breaks. It's all of these little things that add up to how can I deliver an experience that is beyond what the client expected. And
Mm.
it's small things for me, but it's big things for them. Big things. And we find this out in the market when once in a while, you say, "Hey, where are the napkins?" And they say, "Over there," versus, "Hey, you sit down and start eating. I'll get it for you." That's one example. It's looking at every single step that you have in everything that you do and finding how can I create something that creates a revolving door for myself, yet has them, having such a beautiful experience that they'll tell everybody about it. It's all about not chasing, attracting clients rather than chasing clients. I don't have time to chase clients, but I certainly have time to attract them. And if that takes an extra phone call in a process or an extra 3 steps in a process, it will save me hours so I can have my life of luxury. Right?
What
So I can work with
what's like
person, play with passion.
what's an example you did in the mortgage industry when you were creating an experience? Like what would be a tangible example that you could share with
Yeah.
people?
So for me in the mortgage experience, Yeah, it's funny. So I'm an engineer, so I'm all about systems, right? So I had it. Ooh, my
Hmm.
systems right. My conveyor belt was right. Conveyor belt, to the point that I went to a closing once. I walked into the title company and I sat down and said, I'm here for this closing. And some guy came in and he said something to the person, sat down, and then a woman came in and the woman was my client. I got up and started going, hi, blah, blah, blah. So did the man. He got up and I realized that's my client. I didn't even know. I'm sitting in here 20 minutes, not even looking at him, doing whatever I do, right? And I said, my system is so efficient, but it's not effective. And I think you need both. And so what I did is I incorporated a simple phone call in the middle of the process that I called and said, hi, I just was thinking about you. And I want to know, we're going through this process. It's difficult getting a mortgage. It's life changing for so many people. What's keeping you up at night? How can we serve you better? How are we taking care of you? Do you know what the next steps are? And are you happy with what we're doing for you? Because I want to do the course correction in the middle, not after the closing and send a survey. I just got a survey from airlines and I just got a survey from my cruise line after I was upset, not during. Could you imagine if a cruise line in the middle of your cruise said, hey, we want everybody to take a survey. We want to know how are we doing so that we can course correct. Hey, look, guys, we have a vacancy, a weakness over here. Let's fix that right now. And then thank that client. Hey, I just want to thank you. 2 months, 3 months later. Remember when we had that conversation, you said that this one thing there was a gap, there was a weakness here. It's because of your feedback, that willingness to share with me and that willingness to be honest with me, that we've changed our entire process so that others don't experience that. And I want to say thank you because it means the world to my business.
Well said. Uh, Being in commercial real estate and owning property all along the United States, I know you have a company called the Kearney Group Investment Capital. What are you investing in? Feed my passion for real estate. I want to hear what you're investing in. What type of assets?
Right. Well, yeah. So Kearney, we actually don't have Kearney Group anymore. So I may have to fix something on my LinkedIn. It sounds like,
Okay.
but we don't have that. Kearney was our team when I was a lender. Kerr for Kirk, my son, and Nee for Whitney, my daughter. So Kearney was the name of our team. So that's what we did, back then. But all of my real estate investments are under Black Fox Investments.
Okay.
That's our company. So we started investing when we first got married. We're celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary this year,
Oh,
and we
congratulations.
started investing when we were 19. Thank you. Yeah, we started investing when we were 19 before we got married. So we bought our first home when we were 19, a couple months before we got married. And we started doing step investing because at the time we didn't need the cash flow. So we just, all of the cash flow, we rolled it back into paying off all the properties so that we had, accumulation of properties over years. And then what we did is if we had someone who was renting from us for 5 years and they paid on time, we offered to do a land contract, seller financing for that, so that we could move from being a landlord to being a note holder. And so we converted a lot of those properties. And so obviously those that we had, purchased later on, they slowly got converted to notes. Some of them we still maintain as rental properties. We have a lot of multifamily and we maintain those as rental properties. One of them is an Airbnb, right? We have 9 units that are now an Airbnb instead of, all these college kids in there. But and then we have several Airbnbs. So we've converted as many to Airbnb as allowed by homeowners associations and jurisdictions. So we've got a combination of rentals, single family, no condos, single family, multifamily rentals. We've got Airbnbs. We hold notes. Right now, I'm doing. I'm just buying properties with cash and selling them to someone less fortunate who would not be able to normally qualify. with a payment that is less than the going rate in rent in an area. And so that's my feel good give back, being able to do that. And so they'll own their homes in 10 years. So it's BOR, right? But they'll own their home in 10 years and have that pride of home ownership. I don't do anything to the properties. That's up to them. And unfortunately, because I'm in the mortgage biz or was in the mortgage business, right? It's still attached to it. I like having, counseling them on fixing their credit and all of those beautiful things, down the road, but not because that they need to refinance me off. I'm happy to be a landlord, a mortgage company. But, for them, if they don't make the payments, I foreclose and I resell the house in the same format. But I'm trying to help people that normally would not be able to qualify. I just sold a house with a nurse, right? She's a hospice nurse, and she just doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the income. There's just a lot of pieces that she doesn't have, but she can make that rent payment, right? That payment that's less than the rent that's in the area. And she had a really good history of doing that. And I wanted her to be able to have her own home. So that's where we're heading there. We do syndications, lots of commercial syndications that we're investing in. We invested in a mobile home park recently. Doing a little dabbling in Bitcoin. I'm okay with it, but I can't really put my attention on it right now. It's not what I'm most interested in, or NFTs, but we're just spending a lot of time, and we're sort of moving into some self-storage now because that's coming. The statistics on self-storage are pretty amazing right now. We have less houses. And so people need a place to put things. So we're doing some syndications there. And that's really where it stops. We're at the last season, we're approaching 60. It's not like we're old or anything, but I think we're at the point now where the easiest, and if we can buy our investment instead of purchasing a property and flipping it and working on it and going through we've had our years of doing that. We just want it to be easy, easier, a little more hands off, a little more angel investing.
Yeah, passive investing is a beautiful thing. That's our specialty. We have high net worth individuals and families that invest in our funds, and we diversify them, and they make a lot of money with us. And obviously, medical properties, what we do is we feel one of the best asset classes out there. So you have a lot of advice around how to approach networking and not waste time. What are some of the big pieces of advice you have for your mentees and ambitious entrepreneurs to approach networking in your view?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is you don't network to get business. I would say that's the first thing. I think when because I hear people say all the time, well, I went networking, but I didn't get any business. Well, because you don't go there to get business. We all know, like, and trust, right? They know what you do, right? Here's my title. This is what I do. They might like you, hopefully they like you. But there's a trust factor that's missing. And I talk about this in one of my courses called Intro to Income, because we are introduced to so many people, but it doesn't ever turn into income because we're missing critical pieces in creating all that trust. What people really need to know is not what you do, but who you are. And we have a shell or armor on us a lot, in that we don't want to share any weaknesses. And yet we think it's abundance, but it's actually scarcity. No, I don't need any help. I'm good, but I can help you. What's going on with you, right? And I think if we can start poking holes in that and allow ourselves to shine out and who we are, that's the key to networking and building relationships. It's not what we do and how we can just solve problems, but it's how we do it. And that's the who we are. So I think the biggest thing is that go to networking to identify possible partners, people that you could have a meeting with and discern whether or not this is a partnership you both want to have. So often we drive to these meetings saying, I hope they like me. I hope they like me. I hope they like me. But we need to be going to those meetings and not, crawling across the table and saying, here's everything I can do for you. But rather, you may decide not to work with me, and that's okay. You may decide to work with me, and that's okay. But I may decide that this isn't a good fit for me either. And I think if we can put that third aspect in, it creates a neutral adult conversation, that it isn't one person pitching the other, but rather, hey, we're here to learn if we have some common interest in working together to help each other move our businesses forward and our lives forward. And there's a very systematic approach to that I use in my coaching. That's just the setup, right? The setting expectations of the meeting is that we're here to determine if we want to work together, and we can't do that in a networking event. It's too superficial. We need to, if we're having a great conversation, say, hey, do you think it would be really important for us to have to sit down and decide if we should be working together? Do you think it would be worth that? Do you think we should do that instead of, I'd love to sit with you? Because most people, if you want to sit with me, if you love to sit with me, you're telling me that you're going to love to pitch me. Right? But do you think it would be worth it for us to sit down and see if we have some common interest to work together and discern whether or not, we can truly help each other move forward? And then we have to have the accountability and the project management and the strategic partnership where we're meeting on a regular basis to say, now what? Now what do we want to work on together? What's your struggle? What's your goal? What's your challenge? How can I serve you? How can I open up my network to help serve you as well? And vice versa. So for me, networking, I feel like everybody's doing it wrong. Look, I own it. Right? I own it. I think people are doing networking wrong. They're going there to get business. And I don't want to be pitched when I'm networking. I want to learn so that we can have a conversation to determine whether or not this is going to be a good partnership.
Absolutely. And do you feel being vulnerable, which is difficult for people, is so important when you're networking and having a conversation, sharing what your challenges and your struggles are and laying it on the table? Because I always felt that when you lay it on the table, someone will pick it up and help you. How important is it being vulnerable in front of people that maybe are strangers you just met, and you can really share where your challenges are? Does that build a deeper connection as well?
Well, I think it shows our strength. And, Warren Buffett says that, is that the strongest thing that, and I'm paraphrasing, the strongest thing that anyone can do is talk about the weaknesses they have so that they can fill those weaknesses with strength. And, I used to, and it's called above and below the line, but I used to think that, abundance was that I didn't need anybody. But I realized that real abundance is showing that vulnerable side, saying, hey, look, I have weaknesses and I would love for you to help me with them. And if you can't, who do you know that can? Or could you do some research to find someone who can? And I think all of us can help everyone we meet. I may not be the client, but I may know a client, or I may know someone who knows clients. And we have to start thinking in that manner, because every one of us can help each one of us, every one of us in some capacity. And I think when you show, it's not, I want to be careful about the word vulnerable. I use the word vulnerable, but for men, I know this is, I don't want anybody crying. I don't want to be, I got to fight with my wife and my husband. It's not that kind of thing. It's just saying, hey, look, there are gaps in my business. Here's the gap. And if I try to figure it out, it might take me a long time. So since you're asking, maybe you can help me fill that gap, or know someone who can help me fill that gap so that I can move my business forward. And I think you'd be crazy not to entertain that. And when people, no, I'm good. You don't have any problem. No, I'm good. That means that their success is way down the road, because they're not willing to open up, and they, want to do the me syndrome, right? Me.
Right. No, it's so the name of my show is I Own It. It's being responsible for everything in your life. So we're all works in progress. Can you share a recent example where you realized you had it wrong and didn't own it fully? Is there something that you could share?
Yeah, I think that happens every day. I think we all experience it every day. Yeah, it's funny. I was with one of my coaches, and I was talking to him. I'll tell you what it was, but I was talking to him, and he's like, "Don't you coach on this? Don't you mentor people on this?" I go, "Yes, I do, but I believe that we can't see our own ears, right?" And so for me, what that was is that I was doing some drive-by delegation. That's what I call it, right? We're moving so fast, we just throw stuff at people. It's like a drive-by shooting, right? We're like, and people are just stunned and they don't know what they're supposed to do and everything. And I had to, I have this other saying is slow down to speed up instead of speeding up to slow down. And that's what I was doing. I was running 100 miles an hour. I wasn't slow enough to make sure that I had everyone on the same page with me. And I had to back up and say, okay, hold on. I need to undelegate everything, analyze it, and redelegate it with purpose. And that's where I said, look, I own it. That didn't get done. That fell through the cracks. It's because I did drive-by delegation and I needed to just slow down enough so that I could speed up later instead of the constant speed that we go at. So I own that, right? I own that I halted my business for a period of 3 weeks because things didn't get done because I was moving too fast.
What's the best way to follow Jen Du Plessis? How do people engage with you and learn about you, and if they want to be a mentee to your coaching programs and all learn really about how to create a fulfilled life? What's the best way to engage with you?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, if someone's interested in talking about mentoring or being in my mastermind, then go to my website, jenduplessis.com, and use the contact button. That's the best way for that. But to follow me, I'm everywhere at Jen Du Plessis, and just, follow with me, engage with me there, and, inquire about what I'm what I'm doing. I am actually somewhat of a private person, so you won't see a lot of posting. My team does some posting for me, after with my approval, but you won't see me being out there trying to, I'm not the person who says, look at me, you need to work with me. I'm the person that you slide a card over, to someone and go, you probably should call Jen, right? I'm a little under the radar. And that's intentional. It's very intentional, because you won't get another coach. I am the coach. You won't get another mentor. I am the mentor. So I'm very selective with who I work with. And, I love action takers. So follow me and see what I'm about, and, have a conversation with me. I'm always happy to have that. And here underneath my screen, you can text Jen to 26786. I used to have 66866, and that was like 7 years ago. I don't know where that even came from, but text Jen to 26786 and get a free copy of my ebook. And then from there, we'll start engaging and hope to see you at one of our events one time.
Great. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up with our 3 questions. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right.
Go for
in
it.
our
I'm wondering if I should have read this.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You're good. You're gonna love this. All right.
Okay.
So if you're in our studios in Laguna Beach with me, we have a couch, and I say, Jen, get on the couch and lay down. Close your eyes. You're this intelligent, sophisticated, successful woman in your career right now. Family lady, the whole 9 yards. You could roll back to when you're 16 and talk to yourself and give yourself some advice. What are you telling your 16-year-old self from all the lessons you've learned that would help you in life and your career? What would you tell yourself?
Yeah. Don't live for everybody else. I spent time proving and not living. And I would have wanted to have discovered that sooner. So I would say, don't live your life for everybody else. Live it for yourself.
All right. So it's our last day on earth. It's just me and you. It's our last meal. It's your choice. What are we eating and drinking together?
Peanut butter cookies with milk. That's my vice.
Okay. That's it?
I just would want to have my last
no entree.
little
Are you gonna starve me, Jen?
We're gonna have dessert.
Can we have a drink with that?
Yeah, I mean, that is like
just milk. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love peanut butter cookies and milk. No, I love wine. We own a little bit of a winery, so I'm a wine connoisseur too. So I would have a Merlot.
I am as well.
But I'm vegetarian, so most likely you wouldn't want what I eat.
Well,
Let's
no,
have
I
a
don't have a
salad.
choice. I gotta
Yeah.
eat with you, whatever you write. By the way, are we dipping the peanut butter cookies in the milk at least? Can I do that? Or because this is our last day on earth, I'm
Yes,
not gonna
we
really
are.
care what you
Yes,
think.
we are.
So, okay, perfect. I love
Yeah.
it.
No, I'm
So,
dipping. I'm dipping.
okay. All right. I like that. So in our studios, you see behind me, we have electric guitars, we have a grand piano and a drum set. And if you were in studio with me in Laguna Beach and you're sitting there with me and you could bring in any band or musician, they could be living or deceased, Jen, your choice. Who are you bringing
Uh-huh.
in to play us a song in studio with us?
Um, I love jazz. I play flute and piccolo and saxophone. So I'm a big jazz musician. Um, I'm either going to bring in Bella Fleck and the Flecktones, or I'm going to bring in Kiko Mansui.
Wow.
You're probably
Very
going, who are
cool.
they?
That's an original. We haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna
Yeah.
whip out like a Winston Marsalis or something, but that's beautiful. I love that. That's perfect.
No. Yeah.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us, Jen. You are a wealth of knowledge, and what a privilege to spend some time with you. If you are interested in following the Ben Reinberg I Own It show, drop kick that right hand button and click subscribe. Please, we encourage you to click that like button. That way, the more likes we get, the more that episodes like Jen Du Plessis, she could share all her messages, and we could make sure that we cast a wider net to the community to help them with great content. If you're interested in learning about commercial real estate or our company, go to alliancecgc.com. We just launched the brand new Alliance Medical Property Fund, which is taking off. If you're interested in passively investing in commercial real estate and getting great returns and tax benefits, feel free to reach out to us. If you're interested in learning more about me, go to benreinberg.com. I will be teaching commercial real estate all over the world and speaking as well to add value and content to help you on your mission to build wealth. So, Jen Du Plessis, thank you for joining us today. It was great to see you, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll see you at Secret Knock.
Yep, I'll see you soon. Absolutely. All right.
Thank you for listening to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg. To hear our past episodes and connect with Ben, visit benreinberg.com.